The only time it came out was when God had to become an escort. You know, our politicians of nowadays, they have all kinds of police escort. Soldiers were coming, and I saw some of the vans escorting one general, and the way the guy was moving like this, clear road. I say, oh, it's just one demon that just need to stand and do like this, and all the tires of the car will just go like this. When God wanted to escort the children of Israel, it was a Shekinah. It left the holies of holies and went out and began to go with them. When anybody see them, by default, nobody dare them. By day and by night. After that time, you will never see it again. It comes, it goes. Even them, they cannot keep it. The only way to partake of it and keep it is to go to where it dwells. It dwells in the holies of holies. And you need to be able to understand the temple of God for you to be able to understand how to access the Shekinah. The temple of God, outer court, inner court, and the holies of holies. In the outer court, the light that illuminates the outer court is the sun. So by the time you approach the outer court, you see the sun, the light of the sun, the moon, and all the stars, they shine. And in that outer court, what happened is nothing but the forgiveness of sins, the remissions of sins. In the outer court, you can find 100 and something, 200 priests. All of them, they are waiting for you to come with your chicken or with your dove, with your lamb of sacrifice, and say, oh please, I have sinned. I have slept with my uncle's wife. Can I be forgiven by God? Of course, the God in the outer court can forgive you. Bring, what do you have for the God? You bring your chicken, he will slaughter it, carry the blood, sprinkle it, and say, okay, go, you are forgiven. Oh, please, I have sinned. What did you do? I just killed my brother. Okay, come. What do you have for the Lord? I came with a lamp. Where? This is what happened in the outer court. In the inner court, those is not for sinners now. In the inner court, those that have remained without sinning for a while, those ones want to partake of what we refer to as the menorah. They want to partake of the illumination, the insight, the revelation of God. Those ones that want to now begin to know God beyond just sin and forgiveness of sins. Those ones now advance to the inner court. And in the inner court, not every priest enter there. Only the 5 sons of Aaron. They are the only one that have the designation to enter there. And the light that illuminates the inner court is nothing but the menorah. When you enter the inner court, you cannot see sun, you cannot see moon, you can't see star. You now have 7 candle lampstands, all of them symbolizing the Spirit of God, the 7 Spirit of God. Isaiah 11, there are 7 Spirit of God. All of them are part of the shooting head of that menorah. That is what is referred to as the menorah. When you enter into the inner court, you see the menorah, 7 of them, and they are burning. As you just step into the inner court, you begin to have inspiration, revelation, insight. That is where there is the manifestations of the Spirit. And in that inner court is where you find all the giftings of the Spirit. All the gift of the Spirit, all the fruit of the Spirit, all the operations of the offices of the Spirit is found in the inner court. But there is another location where no man treaded, no one goeth. That one is referred to as the holies of holies. That one you don't dare there. That one is covered by veils, covered by curtains. Only once in a year, the Day of Atonement, they gather together by a feast called Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah. And in that day, they advance by the Feast of Tabernacle, offer themselves before the Lord as a sacrifice. And as they gather, the high priest should go back inside again and sanctify himself, purge himself, seek for forgiveness, do a lot of cleansing. Then they will tie rope upon him. And a high priest is selected to serve for just a few years afterward, until after death. And some will serve for a while before they are changed. So there are diverse high priests. Only the one appointed, coordinated to serve for that year can enter into the holies of holies. It was in that very place that Zechariah was there. And at that very presence was when Gabriel appeared. And when Gabriel appeared, he said, Zechariah, your wife may be barren, but she shall give birth to a child. His name shall be called John. And Zechariah laughed and wondered, why are you laughing? Why will you doubt the word that come from the holies of holies? In this place nobody speak. We came here to just utter Yahweh, but you hear me come here to speak. Know that I stand in the very presence of God. He said, I am Gabriel that stand in the presence of God. Do you doubt my word? What he was trying to let him understand was that what I'm saying now does not come from the 7 candle lampstand. It's coming from the utterances permitted from the cherubim, the seraphims, from the living creatures, and it's ushering out to you. So in the inner court, the only 7 sons, the only 5 sons can go inside and gain those illuminations. But in the Holy of Holies, only once in a year, a high priest will be permitted. And they are so afraid to enter, because if there is any small sin in you, that glory kill you by default. The wings of the cherubims, when they breathe it like this, is judgment. Because they have eyes around them, eyes everywhere. You can't hide nothing there. When you enter there, they are like glass, they radiate. So by the time you enter, you see diverse kinds of faces. Everywhere you look, you are looking at yourself. Because in the holies of holies is the very presence of God that revealed the intent of the heart of man. It was there that King Uzziah said, no, I must go, I must go, I must go. As King Uzziah entered, in that day he was judged. Why? He was not supposed to enter there. He defiled the Lord. 80 priests went and said, oh king, don't enter, it's not permitted. He said, who are you? I'm a king. The cherubims and the seraphims, they don't know whether you are a king. Because they are kings, they have their crowns, they cast it down. You are a mortal king on the earth. And so before the high priest will enter, they will tie a rope, and he will enter with fear. He is still burning incense as entry. He's burning incense is entry. He's burning incense as entry. He will ensure that there is always fire upon the incense altar, so that peradventure, as the Lord see the incense, so that God will not see his face will be covered, so he's burning. So he surrounds himself with the breastplate of the entire covenant of God that God has with all the 12 tribes of Israel. He does not come in his name. He just comes as a representative of the house of Israel. Because in the presence of God, he doesn't have a name. He is part of a tribe. The fact was the tribe of Levi. And by the time he comes with the covenant that God has with Jacob, by the time he enter, when the light shine, immediately when the cherubims and the seraphims allow the presence to be opened. Because anytime the Lord advances, he moves upon the wheels of the cherubims and the seraphims. They cover and guard that Shekinah. So anytime they are about to unleash it, they open themselves and God come out of it. So immediately when the Lord come out, that smoke that the young man carry, the thing will fade away. And by the time he fade away, he will only be the one remaining. And it's either he die or he live again. And with terror, he will go down and begin to shout Yahweh. And until he is giving clearance to live in the holies of holies, he cannot come out and declare to the people. Because if God did not approve of him there will be judgment in the land. Once in a year, and by the time he enter, he will go and make atonement again for the entire Israel, that God give them again to live again for 1 year. So to them, their birthday is actually the day of atonement. And only him see of it. Then sometimes in the tabernacle, they can now see the flames of it upon, and that shows that God has accepted. And afterward, he is the only one that when he come out, every high priest will come and say, how was the place? How is it? How did you survive? You say, I cannot understand what happened, but I know there is the Shekinah. They manifested. I know we know about the presence of God as high priest, but my brothers and sisters, what I saw, it was too visible. And the day the Lord wanted to appear to Moses, he said, come and dwell. When Moses related with the Lord, when he came out, it was so visible. That was how he beckoned. I pray thee, grant me grace and consider this nation. Go further. Go further. Do I have to use my own media? And he said, my presence shall go with thee, and I will give thee rest. Imagine. My presence shall go with thee. Is the presence not good? The presence of God is here now. But Moses did know that there is another dimension apart from just the presence. Yes. And he said unto him, if thy presence go not with me, carry us not up from here. What are they confusing us? Go again. For wherein shall it be known here that I and thy people have found grace in thy sight? Is it not that thou goest with us? So shall we be separated, I and thy people, from all the people that are upon the face of the earth. And the Lord said unto Moses, I will do this thing also that thou hast spoken, for thou hast found grace in my sight, and I know thee by name. That means not everybody that God knows by name. You go to heaven, no? Your name is in the book of life, but in that book of life there is too many names, but there are some that you know them by name. To other people I will talk to them through dreams and vision, but to Moses I will talk to him face to face. Why? Because he has found grace in his sight. So now my prayer, we are going to end with, Father, help me to find grace in thy sight, because I don't know which kind of grace that Moses found that me and you have not yet found. Me and you, we are preachers. When we sing, the presence of God come. When we preach, the power of God come. What grace is this young man talking about here? There is a kind of grace that brings another kind of dimension. Oh God of heaven. I wanted to. Oh God of heaven. If Moses has found grace in thy sight in the Old Testament, we are in the New Testamental culture. What is it that Moses saw that we cannot see? We may not pray for the Shekinah, but he prayed. There is a grace that brings it by default. We will pray and God will refuse. Advance. See, and he said, I beseech thee, show me thy glory. Okay. So what you are looking for was glory, and you are lying that his presence. And God knew his heart, and that was why they were interchanging the word for us. What he wanted was the manifested presence that is visible. When it's visible, it becomes glory. You now see what I'm telling you now. What you call the glory of God is the visible manifested presence of God. You can be okay with the presence of God, though, but somebody wanted more, and God does not want to share his glory with no one. You now see why Shekinah is for nobody. But it's possible that in the day you need it, it can come and be by you. Moses beckoned upon God, and for years God left the holies of holies out of his own violation and went out and escorted a Cana people. They did not survive because they want to survive. It was because something was advancing by them. Yes. And he said, I will make all my goodness pass before thee, not some of my goodness, and I will proclaim the name of the Lord before thee. Ha! God talking again. You see how he's going to safeguard it for you to partake of the Shekinah, all the goodness of God. When you say surely mercies and goodness shall follow me, I don't have time to teach you what is the goodness of God. Do you know what is the goodness of God? Have you sat down? Take this as an assignment. Go and find out what is the goodness of God. I will make all my goodness to pass by thee, and I will proclaim the name of the Lord upon you. He's trying to protect him, because in the day he showed him the Shekinah, he's not qualified for it. God allowed only once in a year for someone to dare to see it. I'm about to show you something that may kill you, but I will do certain things to save you, so that peradventure you may not die. And I will tell you that even all what God did not still keep Moses. Moses still died. Why? He saw the Shekinah. The only reason why God killed Moses was because Moses saw what was not supposed to make him still doubt him. What Moses saw, what was not supposed to allow him at any time come to a point where he can transgress. Anytime you partake of the Shekinah, there are things that you do that will make you die by default. Before we pray this dimension today, you must be willing not to walk in disobedience with God again at all. Because out of that Shekinah, the only reason why devil as Lucifer can never repent, even if he tried to repent, God can't. There is no economy that can keep him. It's because he has advanced to the highest dimension of what God is. He has partaken of all the goodness of God. Not some, all. God shielded him with it. And so now he rebelled. What can God do? Nothing. So he cast him away. In the day Moses by default partook of the Shekinah and all the goodness of God. You see, what we call the tree of life is part of the goodness of God. Part. What we call the crown of life are just part of the goodness of God. The goodness of God are the possibilities of the realities of the afterlife, the dimensions of ages to come that God looked upon. And there are men that have partaken of it and have seen it. If those ones rebel against God, what can he do? From the kind of encounter he has taken him to, Lucifer was betrothed as one of the Ben Elohim, one among the ranking of them. So in the days he fought from the mountains of Zion, he cannot but have a place again. Never. They have to lock that realm. There was nothing he has not seen. And immediately when Moses saw these things, the day Moses has been rebelling, he has been making mistakes. God has been forgiving him. But by the time he had this encounter, mistakes are not permitted again. As he tried, he was judged by the burning ones. There are those ones referred to as the burning ones, the wheels upon the wheels. They are referred to as ophanims. The cherubims and the seraphims, they are the high angelic ranking operations of God. They guard the glory of God and the holiness of God. Is the totality of the echelon of the omnipresence, omnipotency, omniscience of God. And these men that guard this, they gave it to a man. The man did not value it. Does that man deserve to live again? Something that the angels look upon and they bow every day. When they look, they bow every second, every minute. A mortal man saw it and he trivialized it. Does that mortal man deserve to live again? The entirety of the destiny of nations, the heavens and the earth, is governed by the Shekinah in the holies of holies. A man that entered there doubt God. You now see why John, before John was born, Zachariah has to be deaf and dumb. It was the mercy of God that allowed him to live. If not, if it was a cherubim that came, Zachariah would have died. For just asking that stupid question and laughing and say, hey, my wife is body, how can this thing be? Are you okay? You are doubting God in the genesis of the root of creation, referred to as the holies of holies, where God himself dwells. How can you stand before the Creator and ask him, can God create? Zachariah, you shall never speak again. until this thing come to pass. We wanted to tell you news, but we realized you are an enemy of God. And the day when it came to pass, Zachariah wanted another kind of thing in his family, because he has already said, the day I get a child, his name will be Zachariah. Because in the Jewish custom, they give their children their names. Like me now, by default, except God want to fight me, like Zachariah. My first son must bear Philip Cephas Jr., so that we transfer my image in him, so that somebody can continue terrorizing the earth. That one now is not God, it's me that decide. If God said the first son should not be that, I will give the last son. But everybody wants somebody that will continue his name. Zachariah too want that. The first child. Imagine your first child, you have been battling for so long. First child. And they are giving you the name. So in the family, when they gather to do a mama, they said this child shall be called. Everybody was suggesting different kind of name. Zachariah, that was struck from the holiest of holies, he knew that his bondage will have no end until the day he acknowledged this. Let me tell you, some of the sickness, the infirmity, some of your deafness is coming from you enter the holiest of holies and you speak what you are not supposed to say. So they say you will not talk again. That is a presence and the glory of God, that when it comes and you speak word without knowledge, you darken counsel. It's not everywhere you speak and say you make a mistake, because angels don't hear mistake. Speak no more. I make a mistake in the presence of the angelos. They do the biddings of the Father. And from that very moment, until Zachariah say, everybody you have given your own name, call this young man John. When they called him John, he was healed. He advanced. I will make all my goodness. No, go back. And I will proclaim my name upon thee. And I will be gracious to whom I will be gracious. And I will show mercy on whom I will show mercy on. That means even those high priests, when I begin to see this thing, and I say, some of those high priests that enter and die, it's not because they are not righteous. God refused to show them mercy. I will be gracious to who I want to be gracious. I will supply grace to who I want to supply grace to. I will show mercy to whoever I want to show mercy to. No wonder David, do you know David can enter into the holies of holies and God will do him nothing. In this holies of holies, upon the mercy seat, there are about 3 items, right? That Aaron rod that budded, when God wanted to choose Aaron, a rod bud, right? Showing the Levite. Aaron rod that budded is there. The table of shewbread is there. And what is it there? Moses' staff was there. And the ark of the covenant. Moses' staff is Aaron's staff, actually. What you call Moses' staff is actually Aaron's staff. The truth is that actually Moses' staff, because Aaron did not know God. God have never spoken to Aaron before. It's what God tell Moses that Moses tell Aaron. So Aaron is a prophet of Moses. Moses ordained. So in the day God killed Moses, Aaron must die too. Because Aaron was surviving because Moses was alive. Oh, prophet! So upon the mercy seat, that's where this thing are. Somebody like David can enter inside and even go and look for what is keep there and eat. And God will show him mercy. Others want to enter with him, he will kill them and leave him. My gentle say, 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 my gentle I realize that as if this Shekinah thing is only those that found mercy that God showed them to. Because anybody that does not find mercy, see it and die. Uzziah was a king. He went to enter inside. As he entered, they killed him. Other people now enter, they didn't kill them. What kind of partiality is that one? May you be the one God will be partial for. See, this thing of mercy, he said it. I will be gracious to whosoever. So there is no criteria there. Somebody